Hello everyone! In this lecture, we're going to explore ES6. So, what exactly is ES6? Is it going to be hard? No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, you're already writing ES6 JavaScript code. ECMAScript 6, or simply ES6, is the sixth edition of the set of standards specified by ECMA International to standardize JavaScript. In simpler terms, ES6 contains various features. There have been more than 10 editions of ECMAScript, with the latest release in 2020, but ES6 remains the most significant and widely implemented edition. That's because in ES6 we got all of the features we grew to love as a JavaScript community. You can think of it this way: ES6 is to JavaScript as your favorite update is to your favorite game. It is simply an update to the core functionality of the language. But what exactly did it bring, you may ask? So let's get into it. One of the most widely used features of ES6 are const and let. In this course, even since the beginning, I was teaching you the best practices of a language. So, from the first lecture, when we started learning variables, you immediately learned about const and let. Before ES6, we only had var. Var can still be used, but let and const make the code easier to read and understand as they signal how a variable is used. Let's just repeat what are the differences. When using var, we can reassign variables. So if we do something like this, var age is equal to 27, and then we console log.age, like this, you know we're gonna get 27, right? But we can also do something like this. Var age is equal to 28 again, and then we can console log the age. We basically created two variables with the same name twice without knowing it. Let doesn't permit that if you're in the same block. So if we try doing that with let age is equal to 27, and then we can console log age. Let's comment these out. And now, what if we try doing let age again is equal to 28 and then console log age? As you can see, we get an error, uncaught syntax error, identifier age has already been declared. That's the way the code should work. If we just want to reassign a value to a variable, then you can simply do this and it is gonna work. But we cannot have two of the same variables with the same name. Using const, we can specify that the variable isn't going to change. So const password, and let's do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, if we set password is equal to, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now if we try console logging it, password, as you can see, assignment to a constant variable, that is indeed an error. That's great. If you never want to reassign variables, then we can use const. But you already knew all of this, so let's move to the next most widely used ES6 feature. And those are arrow functions. We've used them a lot throughout the course, and by now you should be really familiar with them. Arrow functions allow us to change our code from something that looks like this. Function, multiply, and then we can have a parameter of x, and then we can return x times x, just like so. We can change that to something that looks like this. Const multiply is equal to, we pass in parameter, and then simply return x times x. But this is not a huge difference, right? Well, with arrow functions, we can also skip the brackets if we have only one return statement. So the most compact version of this arrow function would be just like so. You can see that this code is easier to read. Let's try console logging this. So console log something like 2, and we have to call our function and pass 2 as a parameter. Now, if we do that, as you can see, we get the value of 4. But you already knew arrow functions. From the start of the course, we've been writing the most modern JavaScript you can write. The third on our list are default parameters. If I'm not mistaken, we also mentioned default parameters in our function section. With default parameters, you can do exactly that. Add default values to your parameters. So if we had a function called add, which is going to be an arrow function, and that function is going to accept 3 parameters, a, b, and c. Now, if you want to return a plus b plus c, just like so, Great, now let's try console logging the output of the called function. And let's pass parameters of 2, 2, and 2. Now if we save that, of course we get 6. But what would happen if one of the parameters is missing? If we do that, you can see we get nan. That is because JavaScript is trying to add 2 plus 2 plus undefined. And that is going to be not a number because we cannot do mathematical operations with undefined. For that reason, default parameters allow us to set default values to our parameters. And we can do that with a simple syntax. For example, if we get this back to a plus b plus c, now we're not passing the third value, right? So let's say if there is no third parameter provided, as you can see there are only 2 here, may the third value be equal to, and you can set anything you want here. You can say hello, you can say 0, anything that suits your current needs. So in this case, what would make sense is to default all the parameters to be equal to 0 if there are no values provided. So now, if we call this function, you can see it doesn't care that we didn't provide a third parameter. We can even pass only 1, or we can pass 0 parameters and it is still going to work because default parameters are going to add default values to parameters a, b, and c. Pretty handy, right? What if I told you you can add a variable or an object information directly as a string? Well, you would say, of course we know that. We already learned about template strings. Template strings are a huge addition to JavaScript. We worked with them throughout the entire course. You should be familiar with them by now. And you guessed it, they were also introduced in ES6. For example, let's say that we want to show our customer the order details on our website. How do we do it? Const customer is equal to something like John. Then const order is equal to an object that has a name. Let's do something like an iPad. And we're gonna do a price of 1400, just like so. Now we can display a message in an old way, so the old way, and we're gonna just say ugly because you're gonna see how it looks like. Const message is equal to, and then a string of hello. Let's do something like plus, and then customer, plus, comma, space, do you want to buy, space, plus, order dot name, plus a string of 4, plus order dot price. You can see how bad this looks like. I even got lost typing that. So now let me put a console log, and then let's see what do we have. Hello, John. You can see we are missing a space there. Do you want to buy iPad for 1400? Let me show you how we can do the same thing using template strings. It would look something like this. Const message is equal to, now we use backticks, hello, and then we can simply do $ curly braces, customer, do you want to buy and then in there we can put order.name for, again, $ curly braces, order.price, bucks. That's it. As you can see, we get hello, John, do you want to buy an iPad for 1400 bucks? That's it. You can see how natural it feels to write this, as it should be. It's simply a string with dynamic parameters or dynamic values embedded into it. That's the power of template strings. These are the 4 most used things from ES6. And as you can see, you know almost all of them. We also talk about promises, async await. Did you know that async await came from ES7, which is an even newer edition of JavaScript? So basically, you're already writing the newest possible JavaScript code. In the next few lectures, we're gonna learn some of the things that are not all that used. In the next few lectures, we're gonna cover some of the things that we didn't mention so far during our course, but I would like you to know them. They are also new and modern. Some of these are gonna be imports and exports, REST and spread operators, and then object and array destructuring. Coming up just after this video.